Alright, so here we go with 6E1, day 2. We're going to talk about the order of operations. So a lot of times you hear the acronym PEMDAS when it comes to order of operations. We're going to use GEMS. PEMDAS gives the confusion that you go parentheses, exponents, and then multiplication, and then division, and then addition, and then subtraction. But that's actually not the case. The order of operations actually only has 4 steps. So it has the grouping symbols, which are your parentheses and your brackets, and then exponents, so that one stays the same. But then multiplication and division are actually in the same step. So they actually work from left to right. So the confusion comes in when we don't see it as it's set up right here. So we have 4 times 3 divided by 6. We all tend to do just fine with that. We multiply by 4 by 3, then we divide by 6, and we're good to go. However, the confusion comes in when we see division first and then multiplication. You actually have to do the division first and then multiply. So here I would do 12 divided by 3, which is 4, multiply it by 2, and I would get 8. A lot of people would take this and do 3 times 2 is 6, 12 divided by 6 is 2, and get the incorrect answer. So as you can see, the order of operations really makes a huge difference, because if you don't use them correctly, you end up at an incorrect answer. The very last step is then subtraction or addition. And what I really like about this is that it uses the S as subtraction, so it helps you kind of have that extra reminder of subtraction can come before the addition. So here, like we normally see everybody do well with, it's 14 plus 3 minus 6, so we add and then subtract. But here, we have 12 minus 3 plus 2. So I'd have to subtract first and then add. So you're going to hear me refer to GEMS all the time. And GEMS is kind of like its own little checklist. So when we're working with problems like this, I can just go through and I write down GEMS on the side of my page. And I use it and I go through and say, okay, well, here's my first problem. Do I have any grouping symbols? If I don't have any grouping symbols, I can move on to the next one. And the next one is E for exponents, and I do have some exponents. So since I do have some exponents, and I'm actually going to change my pen color here so it's a little easier to see, that's what I complete first. Now, when I show my work, I'm not going like this and doing 2 times 2 equals 4, and then saying, okay, well then I'm going to do 3 times 4 equals 12. You're going to get too much of a mess. We mix up our numbers quite often when we work that way. So how we're actually going to work is we're going to work from the widest part down to a point at the bottom. So you're actually going to create your own sort of ice cream cone. So it's wide at the top and then gets narrower at the bottom. And then you're going to add a little gumball to the bottom because we circle our answer. Okay? I'm even going to go here and put my little... Here's my ice cream cone. There you go. There's my beautiful art that I know you guys miss. Look at that. So here, I know that 2 squared does mean 2 times 2, which this would give me 4. So I can do that work off to the side to make sure that I do it correctly. But then I'm going to bring everything else back down. So everything that I didn't use came down. Now I'm going to go through, do I have any other exponents? I do not, so I go to the next part of my list, which is multiplication or division. So I start from the left and I work my way to the right. I see subtraction, I see addition, I see multiplication. So I have to do 3 times 4 first, which is 12, and then I bring down everything that I didn't use. A common mistake is that students tend to forget that they used either the 3 or the 4. That's why I like using this little caret, saying that I took these 2 things and used multiplication to turn them into 12. Since I have no more multiplication or division, I move on to subtraction or addition. And I start from the left and I work my way to the right. So here I actually do see that I have subtraction first. So I need to do 17 minus 4, which is 13. And then I'm going to add the 12. That's my very last step, so I know I can go ahead and complete it, and I get 25. So then I have my beautiful ice cream cone with the gumball at the end. Now you're more than welcome to try the next 2 problems on your own and come back and check your work. If you'd like to go through another example with me, stay on here and keep doing that. but I am going to suggest that at least for one of the problems, you try it on your own and then check your work. All right, so again, we're going through and we have to check the grouping symbols. And I do have grouping symbols. When I have grouping symbols, then I have to go through and say, okay, now I have to start my order of operations again. So inside my grouping symbols, do I have any more of those? In this case, I don't. Do I have any exponents? I don't. Now, the exponent has to be inside the grouping symbols. You might see something like this, so like 1 plus 3 to the second power. You have to do this first, and then you take whatever's inside those parentheses to the second power. All right, that's just an example. That's not part of this problem. I just want to make sure you understand that if the exponent is on the outside of the parentheses, you have to do everything inside and then take it to the exponent. Right, in here, we only have addition, so that's what I have to use. So I have 7 plus 3 is 10. And then I don't need the parentheses anymore because there's nothing else left in there. I'm not exactly sure where it went. There we go. And then I have divided by 2 times 3 to the second power. All right. So now I go through, my grouping symbols are done. Do I have any exponents? And I do. I have 3 squared. Now remember, 3 squared doesn't mean 3 times 2. It means 3 times 3, which is 9. And we did that on the lesson before this. And then I bring down everything that I haven't used. All right, no more exponents, so I go to multiplication and division. And I do see I have division first, so I do 10 divided by 2 is 5 times 9, and that's all that I have left, so I get 45. All right, this is the point where if you didn't try the last one on your own, I'd like you to try it on your own and then come back and check your work. Make sure if you get it incorrect that you watch and go through the steps, and make sure that you're listening to the different little things that I'm telling you, because a lot of times it's stuff like this where you forget that 3 squared means 3 times 3. So checking those little things to see where your mistake might have been. All right, so I don't have any grouping symbols on this one, so I'm going to go to exponents. And now here I do have 2 to the third power. And 2 to the third power, again, common mistake is that we get 6. But remember, it's 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 2 to the third power is actually 8. And then I bring down everything else that I didn't use. It's very awkward writing things backwards, trying to make sure it all fits and is spaced correctly. Okay, so now I go through. I don't have any more exponents. Do I have multiplication or division? Working my way from left to right, I have to divide first. So I have 28 minus 3 times 8. And then I have multiplication, so 3 times 8 is 24. So 28 minus 24. It's my last step, so I really don't have to worry because I don't have to worry about anything else going before or after it because it's the only step. And I'm left with 4. All right, so you do have a problem here that I would like you to try on your own. Notice we talked about the exponent being on the outside of the parentheses. So I have to do whatever it is in here and then take that answer to the third power. So you're going to complete this problem before you come back to class, and then we'll go over it together and see how you did.